Welcome to a Reuters Events Energy Executive Briefing with me, John Harmon, Head of Renewables, and also the lead on the Reuters Impact Climate Change Initiative. I'm excited to be joined today by B Shuster, the Chief Executive Officer of Howden. Howden is a leading global provider of mission-critical air and gas handling projects who helps advancements towards a more sustainable world. So hello and welcome, Ross.
Thank you, John. Glad to meet you today.
Thank you. So to kickstart the conversation, for our audience who aren't aware, what's Howden's role in the energy transition and the hydrogen economy at large?
Well, let me explain Howden a little bit more generally. And as you mentioned, Howden is a leader in air and gas handling. And I would argue that our technologies are probably the broadest, stretching compression, fans, and steam turbines. Company is 168 years old, founded and still headquartered in Scotland, but many changes throughout our history. And today we're truly a global company. We have about 6,400 colleagues located in 35 countries around the world. And our products actually are installed in more than 160 countries around the world. And our technologies apply very broadly. They apply broadly across many industries. So we're a leader in mining and mining ventilation. We're also a global leader in wastewater around compression and aeration for wastewater treatment. We're involved in broad number of industrials, from refrigeration to metals and cement. And then obviously our largest exposure, largest segment is that of energy and renewables. And in the energy and renewable segment, we're broadly positioned across the entire spectrum. So we're very much involved in traditional energy with denoxing and desulfurization of fossil fuel plants. We're involved in nuclear, both fusion, fission, and the emerging modular reactor type of technologies. And then as we talk about renewables, we're very broadly engaged with biomass, waste to energy, and what is now our fastest growing market, which is probably not a surprise for you, which is renewable hydrogen. And in fact, our history with hydrogen goes back 100 years. In fact, it was one of our companies, Burton Corblin, that actually invented the first diaphragm compressor, which remains the key technology for hydrogen compression. In fact, around the world, we have about 3 million horsepower of compression activity in hydrogen-rich environments. So a long history, a broad organization, but today very much focused on the hydrogen ecosystem and hydrogen economy.
Thank you. So quite the experience. So what are the key challenges in implementing a hydrogen economy and at scale?
Yeah, I think there's really two. I mean, there's many challenges, but I think there's two challenges that really stand out, and they're obviously interrelated. One is the cost of renewable hydrogen, and then the other one is the infrastructure that goes along with building out a hydrogen economy. You know, as you well know, green hydrogen, while the cost is coming down, it's still at a premium, probably 2x times traditional energy sources, but that gap is closing quickly. And it's closing quickly for a number of reasons. Obviously, the sources of renewable energy, such as solar and wind, are becoming much more cost effective. And then the hydrogen ecosystem itself is becoming more cost effective. One of the things we work on with our customers is looking at our part of the hydrogen economy, compression, and how we can lower the costs of compression, which are not minor in terms of both the capital spend and the operating spend associated with it, but then also working with our clients and the industry about the overall ecosystem and how our technologies can actually make that ecosystem more cost effective. And then, the second area is infrastructure. The great thing about renewable hydrogen is also one of the challenges. And the great thing about it is it's a great conduit to move renewable power from where it can be created cost effectively from wind and solar to where the demand is. But obviously, to do that cost effectively takes the infrastructure for that movement, whether it be pipelines or trailer transport, whether it be in gaseous form or liquid form. And those are all areas which we're involved with our clients to help solve those types of challenges.
Okay. So what will it take, as a broader picture discussion, what will it take to create a secure energy future with hydrogen?
Yeah, I think, in my mind, there's absolutely no doubt that hydrogen will be part of the energy future and a secure energy future. I mean, it's the obvious is that hydrogen is the most abundant chemical substance in the universe. It solves a lot of issues, like we talked about. One is, how do you take energy where it can be created from renewable sources cost effectively and get it to where the demand is. So there's a lot of pluses around it. But as I mentioned earlier, talking about the challenges of cost and infrastructure. And I think, really what it's going to take, obviously, is to get to scale. And the key of getting to scale is what I think we're already starting to see over the last 2 or 3 years. It's going to take cooperation between, or alignment, if you will, between public opinion, between government activities, policies, and even subsidies, and then private investment. And I think we're starting to see that. I mean, I think you look at the things that have changed in the marker, if you will, the milestone of the pandemic. Public opinion around the importance of renewable energy has increased. Positive public opinion around hydrogen being part of that future has increased. You see governments around the world making it part of their strategic plans, from China to India to the UK to the Americas, putting hydrogen at the forefront of what they want to accomplish. And then you see, and it's obviously with those two things in place, it's a logical follow-up that you see private investment like Howden and other companies investing behind that ecosystem. So I think that alignment is really what it's going to take to get the type of investment and the type of cooperation between organizations to really drive hydrogen as rapidly to become part of a secure energy future.
Okay, interesting point. So talking about cooperation, so how's Howden supporting their customers in their energy transition and helping them meet their environmental as well as their operational goals?
Yeah, I think from a Howden perspective, we're in what I would call an enviable, and I'd probably even go as far as calling it a fun position in the ecosystem. And I say that because the offerings, the technologies, and the solutions we have are both broad and agnostic. And so if you think about the hydrogen ecosystem, and one part of it being the creation of hydrogen, we're agnostic to the type of electrolyzers and the type of renewable energy being used to create hydrogen. We have products that can take and deal with large-scale hydrogen compression when it's created. We have products that can deal with more smaller scale. If you think about it in terms of the infrastructure and the transportation challenges that go along with hydrogen, we're involved both in pipeline transportation, we're involved in trailer, and we get involved whether the hydrogen is being transported and stored either in gaseous form or liquid form. And then if you go far to the right, where we talk about the different potential uses and existing uses for hydrogen, we're very much involved in mobility, green steel, biofuels, ammonia. So we sit in a great position where we see the entire ecosystem developing, and we're not tied to a particular product or a particular solution, because we can get involved regardless of what the end use is, regardless of the form of hydrogen or how it's produced. We have a solution that we can get involved with. And so really our involvement is just that. We start off very early with customers as a consultant to evaluate what the best solution is for them, and not have to be bound to a particular type of technology because of our breadth.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about products and solutions. So let's turn to projects. So projects has Howden been involved with that is helping accelerate the energy transition?
Yeah, it's as a leader in hydrogen compression and in the hydrogen ecosystem, there's a large number of projects we've been involved with. Many of them are first. And so to highlight some of the first and largest projects we've been involved with, one of them is the largest hydrogen refueling station, which is a cooperation with High Power, a project in China, where that site is capable of fueling 600 or more large-scale vehicles per day. We've been involved in the first climate neutral e-fuels plant in Chile. We're very proud, and we see a large future in green steel. And we've been involved in the world's first green steel project with Hybrid in Sweden. And again, that's a segment and end use for green hydrogen that we believe is one that will see rapid adoption and acceleration. In Europe, we've been involved with a large flagship underground storage facility in France. And also in Europe, we've been involved with one of the largest biofuel plants that's now currently being transitioned from a fossil plant to a biofuel plant. So again, really broad range, both in terms of geography as well as in terms of where it sits in the ecosystem and the end uses that we're seeing, from mobility to steel and others.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fascinating talking to you. I mean, it's obviously a particularly important time for hydrogen right now. And we talked a lot about the products, the successes, the projects. So if I was to ask you for a final thought or a final comment for our audience watching today, the thing you really want them to take from this conversation, what would that be?
Yeah, I think everyone that's listening to this and is as big a believer in hydrogen as I am and that we are at Howden. And I would just go back to the one point that I made earlier, that I think to accelerate the adoption of hydrogen globally, it is going to take cooperation. And again, it's cooperation between companies like ourselves. We've got a number of cooperation agreements where we're cooperating with other companies that are adjacent to us and complementary to us to help build projects and accelerate projects. We're also working very much with governments to both advise them on where their opportunities are, advise them about how they can help accelerate the market. So I think the biggest thing is in a market like this that is both early stage as well as quickly growing, it's going to be that cooperation between private to private companies and private companies with government organizations to look at how we accelerate the hydrogen economy.
Well, Ross, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you very much. A lot of food for thought for our audience.
Likewise, I very much enjoyed the discussion with you, John.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.